Hello, and welcome to Just a Minotaur. Joining me today are four amazing contestants who are perhaps experienced hands at this game now, thoughtful denizens of the multiverse who are used to speaking on a subject for 1 minute without hesitation, deviation, or interruption. Join us as we play Just a Minotaur. So, Rob, Taylor, Rodney, and Beck, leading us out of the gate with our first subject will be...
the undefeated champion of this game.
I cannot say that for myself.
The last time we were all together, there was a tie between Rob and Taylor. So let's see if we can break that tie through... by hook or by crook, one might say.
Probably
so
can.
with our first subject on the subject of Kobolds and Dragons, Mr. Robert Hartley Esquire, please lead us away for 1 minute on the subject of Kobolds and Dragons, starting now.
In the earlier editions of Dungeons and Dragons, kobolds were much less reptilian and much more canine in appearance. Over the years, they have adapted and grown and changed throughout the different variations of the game, until in 5th edition, kobolds are much more like small dragons themselves. In the lore, they are not actually related to dragons, nor are they given the draconic title or type in the monster manual or monster subclasses. Dragons in...
Taylor gurning with excitement. A monster has been spotted. A correct interruption from Taylor there on the subject of Kobolds and Dragons. You have 31 seconds remaining to you, starting now.
If I were going to tell you about all the kobolds and all the information that there is about them, I don't know where I would start or where I would end, because there are many kinds of kobolds. There's the reptile-y ones, there's the rat-looking kobolds, there's also some kind of horse kobold that I saw a picture of once, and I'm not sure if that was legitimate, but people are definitely shipping it. Kobolds. My favorite kind of kobold is the hippopotamus kobold, which is definitely real.
With 2 seconds remaining on the clock, Robert Hartley, please, what is the nature of your challenge?
Deviation from fact, fiction, and lore that exists in the world. And you can't just make up things like hippopotamus kobolds.
I would play that.
It's art.
I do normally and have a lot of sympathy for those who are asking Taylor, what the fuck are you talking about? However, given the nature of Dungeons and Dragons and given the specific nature of your interruption, I think it's probably okay to actually make up stories about kobolds.
Oh, okay. You want to open this floodgate?
It is,
Let's open it, baby.
Part of the nature of the game. If one were to bring forward a hippopotamus kobold as a DM, I feel that's not necessarily.
Is it on the topic of kobolds and dragons? That's the question. Was it a deviation from the topic of kobolds and dragons to talk about hippopotamus?
I feel that it was a discussion about hippopotamus kobolds and different types of kobolds.
All right.
So I will, however...
Just setting precedent, that's all I'm saying.
Hold on, you can't just start with one attack and when it doesn't work, you come up with your plan B. You made your claim, it didn't work, you don't get to make a second claim.
I'm not accepting. I'm accepting it. I'm just saying you're opening precedent. I'm gonna talk about all sorts of fictional shit on my turn.
Let's have it. I
look
welcome it
with a great anticipation to your turn, which is coming up in just a moment, Robert. So, however, with 2 seconds remaining on the clock, Taylor, it is continuing with you. Kobolds and Dragons starting now.
I think you know my favorite kind of kobold now.
I was really hesitant about this.
It is absolutely for those of you who are joining us for the first time, this game can get vicious, rather like a shark fight in a dark alley. Now, Beck, that is absolutely a correct challenge, which is the nature of this game, you must start speaking at the moment I say go. So point to you, Beck, and with 1 second remaining on the clock, on the subject of Kobolds and Dragons, starting now.
Kobolds and Dragons.
I knew that she was going to hesitate, so I had to do it. I had to. I also wanted to see if I could. I didn't know if I could get it off in time. So
Rodney out here trying it.
You know, I was going to talk about the pronunciation of them, so it was appropriate for the context had I the time to do so.
I feel both in awe of your direction, Beck, and your skills with the buzzer, Rodney.
This is spicy.
I am going to give the subject to Rodney because it is a correct challenge, even though one might say it is a little uncharitable. So at some point in the future, Beck, I will give you the benefit of the doubt. Rodney, the subject is with you. You've gained a point. You have all of 1 second left on the subject, starting now.
Kobolds and Dragons. So much I want to say about him. So much I want to say.
He did, in fact, begin speaking as I said go, Rob. So I'm afraid that is an incorrect interjection, unless you had a slightly different one to give.
Repetition.
Indeed. So, given that was Rodney's first time with the buzzer, he does, in fact, gain another point.
Got spicy.
With still some statistically close to 1 second remaining.
You do that. How did you do that?
It was magic. People watching don't know why we're doing this.
Hi, everyone. Now's a great time to hit subscribe.
Don't you want more of this?
Of course. And with 1 second remaining on the clock, Rodney, the subject of Kobolds and Dragons, starting now.
Kobolds are better than dragons.
There we go. Speaking as the buzzer went off, Rodney, you get a bonus point. That's wonderful. What a wonderful round. Thank you so much. With
Rodney was about to sweep
our system. The next person to speak will be Taylor, I believe.
Okay.
Is that correct? Did I get that right? I did. Yes, indeed.
This time you asked for it, though.
Indeed,
So
I did. The subject, Taylor, for you, for 1 minute for you to speak on without hesitation, deviation, or interruption, is high elves. And so, with that in mind, starting now.
are high elves the one with the really long ear or the medium ones? Because I've seen a few different interpretations, and I happen to know now that matters. If I reference the wrong kind of high elves, then I might actually get buzzed on. But the thing is, at the end of the day, you really need to specify which one you're talking about, because there's a varietal. They come in all different types, sizes, ethnicities, and
and a rescue attempt has been mounted from Beck. Beck, what's the nature of interruption? There we go. It's I think it's a perfectly valid one. So we will move the subject on to
let
you
that
with 28
one go by.
seconds. With 28 seconds remaining on the clock, on the subject of high elves, Beck, starting now.
Sure. So in High Elves, what would be much more interesting in a homebrew setting is that we look at the High Elves as being very high. I'm not talking, tall or large. We're talking gargantuan at this level, where you look up to the sky and they are lost in the clouds, versus the low elves, down to the ground the size of an ant. You also have medium elves, which are the size of elephants, surprisingly.
Rob, with the challenge with 2 seconds on the clock, what is the nature of your interruption?
Repetition, the word size.
Yes, indeed. Indeed, the word size has been repeated multiple times. Rob, that is a correct interruption by the nature of the rules, setting you with 1 point and 2 seconds remaining on the subject of High Elves, starting now.
High Elves are a subclass.
High Elves
Got somebody buzzed.
No, it was not. It's the end of the round as you were speaking, Rob. Perfectly done. That gets you an extra point for speaking as the end of the round buzzer goes off. On that subject, the next subject will be kicked off by Rodney. The subject is yours of Dwarven Crafts. You have 60 seconds to speak without hesitation, deviation, or interruption, starting now.
Dwarven Crafts, man, just like my kids, they love to craft, but they make amazing stuff, like amazing stuff. I'm talking about hammers. I'm talking.
Beck, you have a
amazing stuff. Amazing.
It is an amazing challenge.
Amazing.
Fully right. I think Rodney.
So good, I had to say it twice.
Talking about his kids. I
have no mercy for you.
I see how it is. Okay.
This is a game without mercy or pity. It's a game for winners and losers. Now, with 53 seconds, time will tell. With 53 seconds left on the clock, we have the subject of Dwarven Crafts with Beck continuing now.
The Dwarven Crafts are well known without the region. Everyone has heard of them, from their axes and swords to necklaces and earrings, tiaras. Everyone wears them no matter where you are. And to wear some...
Taylor.
I think I heard everyone 3 times.
Yeah.
Everyone heard everyone 3 times. That is a very...
There was
correct.
one for each of us.
I wanted to make sure everyone was included.
Nice.
And...
3 points for inclusivity.
Everyone, and certainly, I think that is a wonderful thing. And so, actually, I'm going to look forward to 36 seconds on Dwarven Crafts from Taylor, starting now.
The Dwarven Crafts are well known among the lands of men. They make furniture, butter, intricately carved ships and chairs and knives and axes because they actually primarily work in metals, not wood, but they can do it. They are super talented. They have lots of little tools. They live underground, which is the worst place to work on things that you need fire for, but they're out there doing it, living it, making little tiny coins and necklaces and figurines that if you ate would bust right through your esophagus.
Amazing.
Well done.
Absolutely a burst for the finish line there from Taylor has successfully.
Well done.
It had to get gross. It had to get gross.
Yeah.
Butter was the second thing that dwarves make.
Butter.
Because I was like, am I talking about dwarves or Amish people?
They gotta eat. They gotta eat.
They're really hard to separate. Great beards, both of them.
Dwarven Crafts are known throughout the land, so then you start listing the things they're known for. Butter was like 4 items above axes.
How do you think they get the beards that shiny?
It's the butter.
Rodney knows.
It's also, as many of us know from our Economics 101 classes, the indifference curve between axes and butter is the pre-industrial revolution guns.
That's
and
what they were cutting it with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a little joke for you economists.
Listen, Robert's just mad that he didn't get to share D&D facts about the butter of the dwarves. I'm sorry, I don't want to be mean anymore.
Do it. It's my brand.
We are going to our next round, which I believe is going to be with the subject of apprentice wizards. Beck, I would like you to talk to us for 60 seconds without hesitation, deviation, or interruption, starting now.
So the apprentice wizards stand underneath the actual wizards. Thus, the name apprentice comes before wizards, not wizard's apprentice. That would be the incorrect official title. So when you say apprentice wizards, you would be correctly addressing them. Now, in the hierarchy of wizards, you would have your top wizards, your middle wizards, your apprentice wizards, and then intern wizards below them. Apprentice wizards can actually request coffee from those below them, but you cannot.
A wonderful run, but Rob.
You're so intent on not saying intern again that you repeated below.
Oh, got me.
Absolutely right. It's a correct interruption, but an absolutely wonderful, almost 37 seconds there, Beck.
The mention of hierarchy made me nervous, so I couldn't even listen with my brain.
I locked up.
With 20.
Listen with your elbows instead. Try that out.
I'll try it.
Don't try that at home, kids. Now, with 23 seconds left on the clock, with the subject of Apprentice Wizards, Robert, the subject is with you. Starting now.
I'm playing an apprentice wizard in a game, and by the rules of this particular thing that we're taking part in, apparently I can tell you an anecdote about them, and you can't tell me it's wrong. So one day in that,
Beck,
Deviation. As he talks about, I can talk about things that aren't about this, and I can go back into it.
That is absolutely
that's the
correct,
rules that was established earlier, apparently.
You weren't talking about Apprentice. You were talking about the rules.
Had you started an anecdote about being a wizard's apprentice, Rob, that would have been entirely...
If I'd started an anecdote, then I wouldn't have been able to get a dig in about how salty I am about this ruling that was made earlier in the game, though, and that was the more important thing than the point.
But you did deviate for a really rather exceptional sort of bit. And Beck, in fact, did noticed that and correctly challenged and regains the subject of Apprentice Wizards with 12 seconds on the clock starting now.
Let me tell you a notable story about 3 amazing apprentice wizards named Robert, Taylor, Rodney, and Ramji.
Oh, Rodney with a challenge with 1 second remaining. What is the nature of your challenge?
The slightest of hesitations in the stumble, and I believe my own name.
Romney.
Oh, was it a combo?
I think
it was a
hesitation deviation combo, because deviation from the name Rodney, and it is a hesitation as she noticed that, in fact. So a correct interruption there from
Listen,
Rodney with one.
can I counter?
I would like to hear this.
These are fantasy names, not inspired by any real life characters.
So his name, how do you spell Romney?
I am Rondombany, the wizard.
Let me show you my made up language that I just wrote. I'll take it. My bad.
Had a previous career. No, indeed, nicely done. I am going to still retain the challenge with Rondomini. However, I will give you the benefit of the doubt at some point in the future, Beck. So, with 1 second remaining on the clock, Rondomini, the subject of Apprentice Wizards, starting now.
I am an apprentice wizard, and my name is Rodney. So,
and
there you
Rodney
have it.
speaking as the clock has run out. Thank you very much. It's an extra point for you indeed. So, as you
I specialize in dunamancy. It's about the time. You really got to focus on the time. You know what I'm saying?
leading us into our next round is going to be the masterful, salty Mr. Robert Hartley, with the subject of critical failure, with 60 seconds on the clock. Please, Robert, talk to us without hesitations, deviations, or repetitions, starting now.
Critical failure, otherwise known as a Nat 1, is a piece of the game's lore.
Rodney with a
crit fail.
Yeah, it was a crit fail.
I believe there was a hesitation in the form of a Nat 1. Yes.
There was, in fact,
in a stammer, in the form of a stammer. A fumble, yes.
Well, I wouldn't call a stammer a critical failure, but indeed.
That's true. It wasn't quite a stammer. Maybe like just a hesitation.
Yeah. I think he just fucked up, didn't he? Now, on that note, Rodney, the subject is with you, with 53 seconds remaining on the subject of critical failure, starting now.
What is a critical failure but a critical success? Just words?
And how the world turns and the worm turns with it.
It just came back to me.
Beck, we have a challenge from you. What is the nature of your challenge? Indeed.
Lethal.
Going for the kill.
These Nat ones be hitting.
I've done it to myself, haven't I? Yeah.
There seems to be a great examples of critical failure as we're carrying on. As the term of critical failure goes to you, Beck, for 47 seconds, starting now.
The biggest critical failure I have ever witnessed was when Robert tried to turn the rules upon himself and give himself an advantage. However, in turn of events that was very unsurprising to the rest of us, it was a critical failure as he was not ruled upon as being correct in that moment. If I remember correctly, in that, Taylor actually got the point. And we moved forward, and I can't remember how the rest of the story went.
Robert with a challenge there, very patiently waiting to strike. Rob, what is that your challenge?
Deviation.
There was, in fact, a deviation. I think that's
Didn't know where that was going to
go. Rob, you gain a point.
Right through that donut.
You also gained the subject back of critical failure starting now.
Some GMs or DMs decide that a critical failure should also result in a thing called a critical fumble. There is much debate online about whether this is a correct way to play or a fun way for the game to be proceeded upon. It basically takes the form of...
Rodney, I think, with a
I wanted to let it slide. I wanted to let it, but there were two hesitations in the form of just slight pauses
Just a
that
little,
I just feel... Yeah.
Well, we both appreciate your graciousness for letting the first one, but I think absolutely by the rules of just a Minotaur, quite reasonable to
because then it makes it a repetition of a hesitation.
Indeed, a repetition of a hesitation.
Now we've repeated the hesitation. Now we've
game.
Yeah.
Double sins.
Whoa.
So with 3 seconds and a correct challenge, and Rodney, you're streaking ahead into the lead. We see critical failures with 3 seconds left, starting now.
Critical failures are an opportunity for amazing story.
Speaking as the
I wanted to tell a story about one.
Well, I look forward
wistfully gazes into the distance.
When I was indeed, and so speaking as you were speaking when the buzzer went off, you gain an extra point, Rodney, which puts you on 8 points, which is a commanding lead right now. As we see the next subject, which moves across to
Rodney hour.
with the subject of studded leather, Taylor. 60 seconds for no hesitations, no repetitions, and try and no deviations, please. Starting now.
My only hobby is actually studded leather. I create it in a laboratory below my house, and I sell it for 13 gold to adventurers on the path. And they come from miles around to buy my studded leather. It's exotic. It's oiled. It comes in a variety of colors, and you, peasants, have seen nothing of its ilk in the entirety of your days. This studded leather is beyond your wildest imagination, and it is high quality, classy, good enough for your mother or friend. And they would appreciate it as a gift if you had enough gold to purchase it, but you are poor.
That was so good.
Guaranteeing herself a career at QVC.
If you call now, you'll get not one, not two.
Taylor was interrupted, however, by Beck in the midst of her interview. Beck, what
was
is the nature
saved.
of your? What is
It was beautiful. I didn't want to
It
interrupt
was
him.
incredible.
Yes.
I was genuinely impressed.
Yes. I have no idea where to go from this. That's why I
When this
said-
is over, I want to know what this one was about.
yes.
What is the nature? What is the nature of your interruption?
It is repetition. The word gold.
Gold.
It was.
Yeah.
You're
indeed
right.
A
Yeah.
golden interruption and a golden repetition. Very nice.
I got greedy.
I would-
Capitalism, y'all.
But that's what happens when you get into telesales. Now, with 13 seconds left on the clock, Beck, would you please talk to us about the subject of studded leather starting now?
While having studded leather on does help your defenses, there is a surprising statistic boost as well. Your charisma increases as your sexiness overall is much higher. Is that legit? Is that? I'm sorry. Was that not in the rule books?
I think that's in the DMG. I think it does say.
Yeah, it's
sexiness
an
increases.
it's an alternate rule in the DMG. It's
Yes.
like, yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely, and I think you were speaking as the buzzer went, and so you gain an extra point for doing that. So that's
I
fantastic.
like it.
Taking us into the next part of this fantastic voyage will be Rodney, with the subject, I believe, of my favourite bard. With 60 seconds to talk about my favourite bard without hesitation, deviation, or repetition, is Rodney starting now.
My favorite bard is Dandelion. Dandelion. The Witcher says it differently different times, and different people in The Witcher say it differently, but he's definitely my favorite bard. Now,
Beck, I think you may have a different challenge. What is your challenge exactly?
Differently. Repetition.
Certainly. Unfortunately, was a repetition of differently, and it does, in fact, with that challenge, bring you drawing equal with Rodney on 8 points. So a timely
Rodney,
challenge.
watch out!
You have
here.
50 seconds. 50 seconds.
That was a pretty good
remaining
evil
on the clock.
laugh.
It was
good.
good.
So, yeah, this is
And it's been
very
recorded, so now it can be
Polished.
sold as Foley.
For 13 gold.
Exactly.
We're
Produced
package
here
deal.
in our laboratory.
Does
The
anybody
subterranean
who's
laboratory.
DM'd Curse of Strahd, does anybody do the count from Sesame Street Laugh of Strahd?
Do you censor it at the worst times?
Because I tend to do like, yes, my name is Strahd von Zarovich. Ha ha ha! 1, 2, 3. I can count the number of people I have killed in Barovia. Anyway, okay, so moving on from that nonsense, right? So Beck, you were correct. Interruption of Rodney. That means the subject is with you of my favourite bard, with 50 seconds remaining on the clock, starting now.
My favorite bard actually comes from the School of Swords, but still manages to play a beautiful lyre. And now, when they play those absolute just musical notes that drift into my ears, dang it. No, you were judging it in your stupid face. No, you know I dodged a bullet and then I fell into the actual trap.
Yeah. It's what they say about like the most car accidents happen after a near miss, because you're thinking about, oh crap, that was, and you're not thinking about boom, and you smash into it. And that's what happened there. You were like, did I get away with it? And you were thinking about that, and then oops, I've run out of words.
It's really the game behind the game.
Indeed, getting caught up by the metagame and realizing her fumble had not been noticed, but then fumbling herself immediately afterwards. Rob, that is an absolute correct challenge, and that gets you a point, as well as a subject of my favorite bard, with 34 seconds remaining, starting now.
My favorite bard is the bard that I'm actually playing in one of my friends' games. Their name is Alexis Sonovach. They are a non-binary half-elf, and they came from the pairing of an elf and a human and fit into neither real category of person. They toured with their father, a David Bowie-esque sort of star, and they have taken on themselves a persona. They've taken the subclass of Eloquence Bard, and they have this persona that comes across them.
I think everybody
I'm surprised nobody got me on that one.
Gracious indeed.
Yeah, that was a few times you could have gone.
I was too entertained.
We all had this look like.
More about your bard.
I genuinely have to say I am thrilled and honoured to have 4 such eloquence bards with me this evening. Anyway, and that also does remind me, Robert, that you have in fact successfully finished speaking as the buzzer went, which gets you up to 6 points, which takes us, I believe, into our final round. Our final round is going to be Beck with the subject of, I really want to do white.
Ferrets!
Carrots! I know about them.
Did you say ferrets, parrots, or carrots?
Who knows?
All of them.
What did you say, Beck?
Carrots.
You said carrots.
Them.
Carrots.
Connect the thing.
You said carrots. I heard ferrets.
I heard
also
pirates.
heard parrots.
You heard pirates. Taylor, what did you actually say?
It's actually very
Ferrets.
helpful.
You said ferrets. Okay.
The long ones.
The long
Oh,
ones.
I'm 27 ferrets in a
Longans.
trench coat.
I like that long ones applies to both carrots and ferrets, and that's how you wanted to differentiate between which one you said.
Right. Well,
The long ones.
Beck.
Not the animal.
The long
Subject
ones.
of pirates,
where we
ferrets, and long carrots will be with you for 1 minute. So please begin for us to speak without hesitation, deviation, or interruption, starting now.
One of the best and most unheard campaigns is actually titled Pirates, Ferrets, and Long Carrots. And while pirates and ferrets are clear beans, it's also surprising that the long carrots are also characters within this world. Vegetables have come to life and feed into the ferrets and pirates, making it a vicious war in which all must survive. Of course, this happens out into the wide open sea as the pirates take hold with their ships and ferrets to find their long carrots out on mysterious islands to be found via treasure maps unheard of before. And as they sail, open billowing winds blow them towards their treasured prizes, and they find the gold that is actually orange.
That was incredible! Oh my god! I was listening so hard.
What are you doing?
You didn't repeat the word sea or sails or wind or islands or world or campaign. I was like, I had a list in my head and I was like, any of these words, say any of them again.
It was so good. There was one slight slip, and I'm like,
yes,
no, it's not.
Exactly. It was a stumble at the end, but I was so impressed that I was like, I'll let it go. I want to see it finish.
I think I fully agree, and again, all of you showed tremendous grace and I think wonderful thoughtfulness to allow that to happen, because right at the end, that tiniest of slips,
I was too into it.
We were all just incredibly impressed because you spoke for the whole minute on the subject of pirates, ferrets, and long carrots, a well-known and distinguished.
That's how it's done.
I will be running a one-shot, and you all have to choose one of those three.
100%.
With great joy and abandon, I will join that. And so you do get an extra point for speaking as the buzzer went. You also get an extra point for speaking for the full minute without any form of interruption, which does in fact bring us to the end of this incredible show. Thank you so very, very much, Robert, Taylor, Rodney, and Beck. Beck, you are the winner of this game. For those of you who haven't hit the subscribe button or the little alarm bell, you should do so. That would be wonderful. Thank you very much for joining us. And you should also look up these incredible people and their shows. We'll have a bit about that down there as well. Thank you very much for joining us from around the multiverse. This has been Just a Minotaur.